It's time for our picks Friday, and we're going to have a little Northwestern basketball, then football, the Big Ten, then around the country, as we always do. All of these lines brought to you by Bet Online.
You are Locked On Northwestern, your daily podcast on the Northwestern Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. This is Locked On Northwestern, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Carter Bird, and as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, we bring you your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen today, and for anything and everything Northwestern. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find us. We're also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern. You can find us wherever you are listening. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, make sure you comment, and give us some feedback. It helps us make the show better. Also, today's show is brought to you by Underdog. Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com with promo code Locked On and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. All right. Let's get into today's episode, and we're going to talk about. First, we're going to start with some Northwestern basketball. Obviously, we know Northwestern started 1-0 on the season with their 85-54 victory in the season opener against Chicago State. Robbie Barron led the team with 20 points. He was actually 10 of 11 from the free throw line. Both of those numbers are career best for him. Chase Audige had 13 points and a career best 9 assists in that game. And then Boo Buie did Boo Buie things, 16 points, 7 boards, 6 assists. He's now 31 points away from joining the 1,000 point club. I think he would be the 39th member of that club, if I do recall correctly. And look, in the opener on Monday, the defense was unbelievable, really was. Held Chicago State to just 25% from the field, 16 of 63, just 21 points allowed in the first half. Phenomenal game by Northwestern. Moving on to tonight, they do have their second game of the year. I believe it's at 7 p.m. here tonight at home against Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois is a team that Northwestern owns the series lead 9-2 in these two programs' history together. Chris Collins is 3-1 against MAC teams in his tenure at Northwestern. The last time these teams met, Northwestern pulled out a 97-78 victory in 2010. They are NIU's. Their head coach is Rashawn Burno. He's in his second year there. They are 0-1 this season with an 83-77 loss to Division II Illinois Springfield. So they had about as uninspiring of a start to their season as anybody in the country this week. David Coit had 31 points, which is the most in a season opener for Northern Illinois in over 30 years. He attempted a school record 23s in that game. So he's going to be somebody to keep an eye on tonight as this, I believe this game streams on the Big Ten Network Plus on the Fox Sports app and all those great places. NIU this year is not supposed to be a team that does a lot. They're picked last 12 out of 12 teams in the MAC. Last year, they did not have a great season at all. They were 9-21, 6-14 in conference play last year. But the line for this game tonight is Northwestern minus 16.5. The over-under is 141.5. And, as I look at this game, Northwestern was unconscious from three in the opener. They were, 45% from three. They hit so many from deep. They did not shoot that well in general. I would expect them to shoot better from the field. Maybe not as hot from three. But the great thing about this Northwestern team is the defense is going to continue to show up in games. That's probably the easiest game to game transitive kind of thing that you can take from one game to the next. For that reason, I'm going to take Northwestern minus 16.5 in this, and I'm going to take the under 141.5. I could see it being a game where Northern Illinois does not get very many points as they open this season up. It's kind of just how I have it. I have it playing out. I think that Northwestern's in a good spot to be a very, very tough team to beat with the way that they shot from deep in the opener and with the way that they played defense in that opener. If they continue to do those two things, they're going to be a tough out for just about everybody. In a game like this against a not very good Northern Illinois team, I expect Northwestern to kind of take over and dominate the game from start to finish. So in just a second, we're going to transition into football. Northwestern has their matchup with Minnesota this weekend and then the rest of the Big Ten. But first, this episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to spice up college football season. It's easy to get started and easy to play while you're watching your favorite team. It's easy to get started, and it's available in over 30 states. Just pick between 2 and 5 players across any team, not just Northwestern, and decide if they will finish higher or lower than the totals set. Fortunately, this week I don't see any numbers for Northwestern, so if you do get started, you may have to pick some players in different games. One of the easiest fantasy games to play out there, and it's something that you can win cold hard cash in a single game. Go to Underdog Fantasy to make your own picks. Sign up with promo code Locked On, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. So deposit $100 and get $100 free. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store or Google Play Store. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Locked On. Get in on the college football pick'em action today. Also, thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. So now we're going to talk some Big Ten football. We're going to start with the Northwestern game. Of course, all of these lines that we're going to talk about are from our friends at Bet Online. As we do every Friday, we have our Pick'em show. And we're going to look first around the entire Big Ten. Start with Northwestern at Minnesota. Minnesota's a 17.5-point favorite in this game. Over under 40.5. Look, it's a battle of, at one time, backup quarterbacks. I think Kalik Manis, I believe, is going to get the start. That seemed to be the indication that Kane gave us in the crossover yesterday. Mo Ibrahim, can Northwestern stop him? Kind of the same deal. Can Evan Hull on the flip side? Can Evan Hull get going? Because that's when Northwestern's offense is at its best. When the bell cow back, when Evan Hull is ripping off 5, 6, 7-yard gains, and then also able to break a few longer ones. Both of these running backs are crucial to both of these offenses. Sullivan, he's been pretty solid. Brendan Sullivan has this year when he's in against some pretty good defenses, some decent teams. Can he continue to be solid, use his legs? Can he protect the football? That's going to be what I'm watching for this one. And which defense shows up for Northwestern? Sometimes they show some fight. They really do. Other times, man, it is tough to watch when teams like Iowa and Wisconsin just steamroll over this defense. Of course, the weather helped them against Penn State and Ohio State. They were able to put up strong performances in those games from the defensive perspective. Which defense for Northwestern shows up in this one? If you're asking me, with the over-under being at 40.5 and the line being at 17.5 in Minnesota's favor, I'm going to take Northwestern plus 17.5 in this one, and I'll take over 40.5 in this game. I think that this Northwestern can put up a couple touchdowns. I believe I said that I thought the score would be kind of a 27-13 score on the crossover. I may go more of a which would actually be just shy of that over under. I'm gonna say that it's actually gonna hit over. I think it's gonna be kind of a 30-16 kind of game. Northwestern, I think, if they win the turnover battle, can absolutely turn it into a 4-quarter game and be there at the end and maybe pull an upset that nobody really sees coming. Indiana at number 2, Ohio State. Ohio State is a ridiculous 40.5 point favorite in this game, over under a 58. That's so many points. So many points. I know Ohio State has so many weapons. And to me, this is Vegas betting on the fact that Ohio State's going to make a point to score a stupid amount of points in this game. I think Ohio State bounces back. C.J. Stroud, Marvin Harrison Jr., they've got the weapons on offense. The defense is daggum strong this year. IU is really, really bad, but it's 40.5 points. I have to, out of principle, take IU plus 40.5. But I am going to take the over 58.5 because I think Ohio State can get relatively close to covering that on their own in this one. And they might even cover it on their own. Who knows? If they do that, then the IU plus 40.5 may not work out for me. But that's going to be my pick for this one. Next up, Purdue at number 21, Illinois. Illinois is a 6.5 point favorite in this game. Over under of 44. Are there some cracks starting to show in the Illinois foundation after that performance last week? Can they bounce back? I don't know. I know that they can run the football. I know they got Chase Brown. But Purdue has been kind of the scrappy team, this hang-in-there team in most of their games this year to me. They feel like a tough out. And for that reason, I am going to go Purdue plus 6.5 in this game. And I will take under 44 for the total. Next up, Rutgers at Michigan State. Michigan State's a 9.5 point favorite in this game, over under of 41. Rutgers is really, really bad. Michigan State got a big win last week, showed some fight given all the adversity. Are they back on track? When I say adversity, self-administered adversity. They put themselves in a lot of these positions to have to be put in a disadvantage. Are they back on track? They're a couple wins away from a bowl game. Both these teams are at 4-5. I think Michigan State's just straight up better. I'm going to take over 41 on the total, and I'm going to take Michigan State minus 9.5 in this game, especially at home. I like that for them. Next up, Nebraska at number 3, Michigan. Michigan is a 30.5 point favorite in this game, and the over-under is 48 in this one. That's a ton of points for this matchup. A Nebraska team that I feel like at times can be pretty game and give teams some fights. Nebraska can hang sometimes. Michigan has Blake Corum. Nebraska does not. Michigan absolutely wins, but I am going to take Nebraska plus 30.5 in this one. And I'm going to take over 48 as well. I just feel that this is This is a game where I think Nebraska can put up a few touchdowns, and Michigan is going to overwhelm them. You saw the 38 points in the second half last week. I think they do something kind of similar in this one, but I think Nebraska does cover that 30.5 point line. Next up, Maryland at number 14, Penn State. Penn State is a 10-point favorite in this game, over under a 57. Penn State has quietly handled business all year long as it's not Michigan or Ohio State. Maryland has been inconsistent at best. Penn State can run the football better, and for that reason, I'm going to take Penn State minus 10 and the under 57 in this one. And then finally, the last one and the weirdest and probably going to be grossest game of the week. Wisconsin at Iowa. It's a pick 'em, and the over-under is at 35. Holy cow. This game's going to be all about defense and bad offense. I think Wisconsin's bad offense is better than Iowa's bad offense, although Iowa's offense has scored some points here recently, which is different. So, I mean, if they're scoring and Wisconsin's offense, I think, is a little bit better, I think you got to take the over in this game, but I think this game is huge for Jim Leonhard, and for that reason, I'm going to take Wisconsin on the pick'em and over 35, and that is my picks around the Big Ten this week. All of those lines brought to you by our friends at Bet Online. Before we move to, in a second here, we're going to look to games around the country, what all is going on in those games. What are our picks with the biggest ones around the country? But first, let me tell you about our friends at Simply Safe. Look, the numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen Simply Safe home security to protect their home. You don't earn that kind of trust of that many people without doing something right. At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. I know because, look, I use Simply Safe at my home, and they protect me with cutting-edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. With that 24/7 professional monitoring, Simply Safe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or can't be reached. Simply Safe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for the inside and outside of your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedoncollege. Save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedoncollege to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Also, thank you again. We cannot stress this enough for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, picks around the country. This is my favorite segment every week because I love to just talk ball. Of course, all of these lines are brought to you by Bet Online around the country. Let's start with number 7 LSU at Arkansas. Arkansas coming off a loss to Liberty. LSU coming off a huge overtime win against Alabama where they rushed the field. And LSU's just a 3.5-point favorite in this game. Over under of 61. Look, Arkansas got in a look-ahead spot absolutely by Hugh Freeze and Liberty and a third-string quarterback. LSU is coming off an emotional high. How do they bounce back? Or how do they do? Are they able to get up for this game after the fact that they were at the highest high last week. The line is fishy. I think Arkansas is more capable than people give them credit for. It's a weird line. So give me Arkansas plus 3.5 and over 61 in this game. Next up, number 9, Alabama at number 11, Ole Miss. Alabama's 11 and a half point favorite in this game on the road at a top 11 team. Over under of 65. Look, Lane Kiffin, this is the game that Lane Kiffin has had circled on his calendar for the last calendar year. It's the one that he has the off week leading up to it. It's been the focus for the last 10 days plus for him. And look, Alabama has issues. I worry about that defense. I worry about their ability to be explosive in the passing game. And look, there's going to be so many points because Ole Miss's defense is bad. For that reason, give me Ole Miss plus 11.5 because I believe in Lane Kiffin. I believe in that offense and their ability to run the football. And I will take over 65 in this game as well. Next up, G5 game that could have serious implications when it comes to bowl season. Number 22, UCF at number 17, Tulane. Tulane's a 1.5 point favorite in this game, over under 53.5. Look, it's always a gamble when you pick a game with Gus Malzahn at the helm of one of the two teams because he could show you an unbelievable game plan that he's been saving that could look awesome and turn the game upside down, or he could drastically underwhelm. That's kind of his MO. That's kind of what he's done his entire career. He's done it this year at UCF. Look, Tulane is sneaky awesome. They run the football really well. I think their defense shuts down Gus Malzahn and UCF. There's some questions about, is John Rice Plumlee going to start at quarterback for UCF? Don't know the answer. I don't think it matters. If he's hampered, that's not great either. Tulane minus 1.5, under 53.5 in that one. Next up, top 25 matchup out west. Number 25, Washington at number 6, Oregon. The line is Oregon by 13. Over under of 72.5. Two great offenses, two really fun quarterbacks, Michael Penix and Bo Nix. Of course, Bo Nix we've talked about on this show before. There's the good Nix and the bad Nix. Which one are you going to see? This year, it's been 99% the good Bo Nix. Oregon is an automatic 40 points. Washington can put up numbers as well. I think 13 is a little bit big in this game. I think Oregon has been fortunate of not being overly crazy tested outside of that Georgia and UCLA game. This home stretch with Washington, Utah, and Oregon State is going to be tough for them. Give me Washington plus 13 and over 72.5 because I think Oregon gets to 40 plus, and I think Washington hangs within 13. That would make it pretty easy for me to bet on the over in that one. Next up, number 19, Kansas State at Baylor. The line is Baylor minus 2.5, over under 52. This is a huge game in the Big 12. Huge game for Kansas State. Kansas State runs the ball extremely well. Deuce Vaughn is awesome. Still some lingering questions about health at quarterback. Baylor, great offense, awful defense. For that reason, I am taking Kansas State plus 2.5 in this one and the over 52 in this one. Next up, number 4, TCU at number 18, Texas. It is game day. I personally think the UCF Tulane game should be game day rather than going back to Texas. A 3-loss Texas, that is. Texas is a 7.5 point favorite in this game, despite being a 3-loss team and TCU being undefeated. Over under 65 in this game. TCU is good, not great. They've been extremely lucky. So many quarterbacks have gotten hurt against TCU this year. Don't think that continues in this one. Texas wins, but I do think it is close because I think TCU is really experienced at this point in comebacks and keeping games close. TCU plus 7.5, over 65 in that one. And then finally, to round out the slate here, North Carolina, number 15, North Carolina at unranked. Actually, they've previously been ranked, but they're not ranked anymore. At Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a 4-point favorite in this game. Over under 78.5. It's so high. Two awesome quarterbacks, Sam Hartman and Drake May. Drake May should win the Heisman. His numbers are stupid. The fact that he's not getting any shine for it is one of the dumber things. He's almost at 3,000 yards passing, 31 touchdowns. He carries that team because the UNC defense is so dadgum awful. Look, in this game, Wake Forest had a rough stretch here. I think UNC outlasts them. Give me UNC plus 4 over 78.5 because we know how bad UNC's defense is. We know how awesome their offense is. And that is how I see those games playing out. And that's going to do it for the picks around the country. We picked Northwestern's basketball game. Then we picked around the Big Ten with the Northwestern game also involved as well. Then we made our picks around the country. All those lines brought to you by our friends at Bet Online. That's probably going to do it for today's episode. Enjoyed it, and it's always fun to talk ball and make picks like this. And I think that's going to do it for today. I'm your host, Carter Bird. Thank you for listening to Locked On Northwestern. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find us. We're also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern. You can find us there. Wherever you listen, turn on notifications, subscribe. Make sure you don't miss an episode. Leave a comment, give us some feedback, help us make the show better. Always helps. You can follow me on social media at CarterBird13, and I will see you all next time.